David here with Figboot on Pens, back again with another review. Today I have for you a Tomoe River notebook from a company by the name of the Pebble Stationery Company. And that notebook is called the Cahier. What I'm going to do today is go over the parts and features of the Pebble Stationery Cahier, talk about what I care for and what I don't care for about it, and I'll show how the notebook performs. Thanks go out to the Pebble Stationery Company for providing this notebook for review. Pebble Stationery is a small company based in Perth, Australia. Growing up in San Diego, California, I have heard many times that Perth is very similar in climate and culture to San Diego. I think it's a place that I'd like to visit sometime. The story goes that after years of using pocket notebooks, the founders of Pebble Stationery couldn't find one that they really loved, so they decided to design and develop their own. The company also makes an effort to give back to their community. For each notebook they sell, they donate a pencil to a primary school in need. In order to take a closer look at this notebook, please join me over here at camera 2. So here we have the Pebble Stationery Company Cahier Tomoe River notebook. Cahier is not spelled like it sounds, at least for English speakers. It is C-A-H-I-E-R. It's cashier without the S. Cahier is another word for notebook, so essentially the name of this notebook is the Notebook Tomoe River Notebook. So let's actually take off this little paper here, and that this is an A5 size notebook. It is, as you can see here, we'll get the camera to focus, it is sewn stitch bound and has a gray linen cover with rounded corners. On the front bottom here, it is embossed with the company name. And then on the inside cover, you have some area for your personal information. And then we have the most important part of any notebook, and that is the paper. This notebook utilizes 52-gram Tomoe River paper, which is my personal favorite when it comes to notebooks. I just really love the feel of it. It is thin, but you'll see here in a little bit, performs very well. This notebook is only offered in a 0.5 millimeter dot grid. I will say the dots are rather light, which I do like. Dot grid is not my personal favorite, and I prefer lined, but with these dots being so light, I feel it provides me with some guidance without making me feel like I'm writing on graph paper or something like that. The pages are numbered, as you can see here, and there are a total of 120. And then on the inside back cover is some information about the company. Let's go ahead and see how this paper performs. And in order to do so, I have a few pens. I'm going to go ahead and show this in landscape. I know that's not how you normally write in the notebook, but this way it just kind of shows the entire thing in the entire screen. The first up is a pen that I've been very excited about ever since I received it. This is the Swatches Kiei Irushi, and this is the Camellia Japonica Akatame version. This has an actual leaf from a Japanese rose bush incorporated into the design. What they do is they actually steam the leaf, then they apply it to the pen. The leaf is then covered with a gold powder and then secured with a transparent urushi lacquer. Let's get a close-up look at that. It is just a unique piece of art. It is pretty amazing looking. I tend to go through phases where I grow very fond of a pen, and then I use it for a great while, and then I move on to something else. And right now, for me, this is that pen. I just can't get enough of it. I really love it. Let's see here. So what we have here is the Swatches, and this is the Kiei, which is K-I-E-I, and Irushi, and Camellia. This is a medium steel nib, and the ink that I'm using is kind of my favorite ink right now that I've been getting a lot of use out of, and it matches very well with this pen, which is Diamine Communication Breakdown. Next up is a pen that before the launcher was the previous pen I was obsessing over, and that is the Leonardo Momento Zero Grande. So here we have the Leonardo Momento Zero Grande. And this is an extra fine steel nib. And the ink that I'm using here is Leonardo Deep Purple. Now, when you get this ink, the box says deep purple, but then the bottle itself just says purple, but I'm going with deep purple because it is, in fact, a deep purple. I have really enjoyed this pen a great deal. The steel extra fine nib is just superb. It just glides right across the page, and especially this Tomoe River paper, it performs very, very well. Finally, I have a limited edition pen which will be featured in an upcoming review. It is a partnership between the Heinz Pen Company and Papier Plume that is pretty cool. And here it is. It is called the Blues. And besides being a nice denim blue, it comes equipped with an extra fine X-Wing harpoon steel flex nib. And you could see here that it has some grooves cut into the shoulders, and then the slit goes all the way down the nib, and it is a very flexible nib from Stylo Suite. Now, don't be fooled by the extra fine name. It does lay down a somewhat fine line here, and so I'll just go ahead and start by using just a little bit of pressure. And so this is the Papier Plume the Blues. So that was just a little pressure. And let's go ahead and just do the very same thing with a little bit more pressure. And that really didn't take much effort in order to get that much flex out of there. This is a very flexible nib. And besides being flexible, what I like about it is that it is very comfortable and very smooth. You don't get the feeling, a lot of times on flexible nibs, when you're just writing with them regularly, they can basically get a little bit toothy and bite into the page. And I don't find that to be the case with this particular nib. And that the ink flow on it has been very good, and I've found that for the most part, if you're just going at a nice slow and steady pace, not too slow, but a nice steady pace, that you're not going to get any railroading out of here, which is nice. And then also the ink that I'm using here is also called Papier Plume the Blues. It is a set that they are going to be selling here. And so what you want to do is you want to be looking out for a review of this pen and ink set coming in the very near future, maybe about a week or a week and a half from now. And you can see here on the other side of the paper, while there is a little bit of ghosting, that's to be expected with this very thin paper, but you don't have any bleed through, especially with some of the heavier ink applications here on the Blues. In regard to some ink swatches for the inks that I was using, here is the Leonardo Deep Purple, the Diamine Communication Breakdown, then there is the Papier Plume the Blues, and then also one of my other favorite colors recently that I've been using a lot of is Diamine Ancient Copper. I started off with this smaller bottle of Diamine Ancient Copper, and I realized that I was just about to run out of that, so I had to pick up one of the larger bottles. I actually picked up this bottle on a recent trip of mine. I was in the Cincinnati area. They actually have a very nice stationery store in the Cincinnati area called Appointments. I would highly recommend checking out that store if you're in the Cincinnati area. It's in the middle of downtown. If you'd like to see some pictures of it, you could check out my Instagram, which is at Figboot11, and I have some pictures of the store itself. And it's nice to visit a brick and mortar fountain pen store every once in a while. And you could really tell here with the Leonardo purple as well as the diamine communication breakdown, the sheen here really shows up well on this Tomoe River paper. Now, these were very heavy applications, so I did expect there to be a little bit of bleeding here because it's a very heavy application. Over on this side of the page, I kind of did a more normal application, so it wasn't overly heavy. I just wanted to get some nice sheen here. You still have a little bit of sheen on some of these, but you can tell here that there is very little, while there's some ghosting, there's very little bleed through when you use kind of a normal amount of ink as opposed to gobbing it on. These notebooks are mainly sold through the Pebble stationery website, but they are carried in a few retailers scattered around the globe, but currently no US-based retailers. On their site, the Pebble stationery Cahier notebook retails for $12.99. Through their site, I will say the shipping costs from their site were a bit steep. It's something to take into consideration since it is coming from Australia. I will say though that for US customers, shipping costs from Le Courant de Caen, one of the European retailers who carry this notebook, were actually less expensive than buying it directly from the company itself. Something to keep in mind. So thanks again go out to the Pebble Stationery Company for providing this notebook for review. I will put a link in the notes below to where you can check this out on their site. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.